So my buddy has a what if. You can live in one of either two animes with these rules in place, okay? And you have to choose and give a why. The rules are you have to be the same age as you are now and you have to look the same as you are now. But you're also part of the power system from the anime that you choose. So the choices are, you either live in the Leaf Village in Naruto or live in West City in Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z. So with that being said, I chose the Naruto verse. Um, as I am, I basically look like this guy to the right. I do have meta knowledge of what goes on in the show, but if I change anything, then a butterfly effect happens and the story is no longer the same. So the question becomes, what do I do? Where do I start? Well, if I was to start, it would be roughly 3 years before the start of the third Shinobi World War. So I spend those 3 years training and developing my baseline ninja skills to the extent of a low-ranking chunin or probably a genin. Um, from there, I spend the next 7.5 years working in the hospitals of Konoha, developing my medical ninjutsu, and eventually developing sealing jutsu similar to the Uzumaki and stuff like the fourth Hokage was using. The ultimate goal here is to recreate or or create an iteration of the first Hokage's seal or Tsunade's seal. So using so during those 7.5 years, I am developing my Minoka Ninjutsu after and chakra control after my baseline has been established. This is during the Third Ninja World War. I'm only at a hospital. I'm being protected by a high level ninja. Risk level is relatively low. So from there, um, roughly at some point during that 7.5 years, the Ninetales attack happens. And using my knowledge of when that happens, I just make sure I'm near a shelter, so that way I don't get absolutely destroyed by the Ninetales or get involved with Obito's attack. Um, Past that, so fast forward to roughly, I want to say it's 4.5 years after Naruto's birth. So Naruto, yeah, he'd be about 4.5. I finally finish up developing my jutsu, and so the jutsu that I have, essentially what it does is where Tsunade's healing forces cell growth, and so it forces cell growth and reduces her lifespan. Instead of forcing the adult cells that are already aging to split, I would instead use chakra to stimulate stem cells, thus effectively de aging and becoming immortal as long as I can provide chakra to the seal. Um, if I ever run out of chakra, I don't immediately get old like Tsunade would. However, I would start aging normally until I then built up enough passive chakra into the seal to begin the process again. In which case, once that happened, I would then de-age back to basically a prime, like 20 something year old of the verse. So by the time I finish my jutsu, I have, let me think, I've been in the village for 11 and a half years. I'm well known in the hospital. Um, Once I activate my jutsu, it doesn't set off any of the barrier core stuff because it's not like a big activation, or not a big spike of chakra. It's just a gradual thing. However, over the course of a couple weeks, I would start to de-age. So if I don't go get tracked down by somebody, I'll likely have to go talk to the third Hokage because at this point, if Naruto's 4.5, Minato has died, Kushina's died, and Hiruzen is back in charge. So once Hiruzen comes over and finds me, or I go find him, I then make the change from civilian doctor to request to being a ninja. And since I've already developed the skills and have managed chakra control for so long, I expect that he would grant that wish. So with that, I would also request some form of combat training so that way I could defend myself in case anybody were to ever come try to steal me, assassinate me, whatever the case may be. At this point in the timeline, Kakashi is basically a free agent. He's not in the schools. He doesn't have a team. He's um, in Anbu. He's not in Root or anything, but he's not. I don't think he's stuck doing missions. So I think realistically, he is the one that trains me, and I get paired with him in spare time. So I mean, even if he was doing missions, he could probably teach me after hours, like after my hospital shift. And this goes on for probably another 2 to 3 years. At that point, um, I would learn things like body flicker, high speed evasion. He would teach me how to use uh, the Tonto or Chokuto, whatever he uses. Um, Potentially chakra scalpels if that's something I decide to utilize. It's very probable that we go through the chakra nature discovery and transformation to determine what my chakra affinity was. I went ahead and just spun a wheel, and whatever it landed on, I landed on, which I landed on fire. So I think it's fitting with Konoha. And then I would probably get some battle IQ / combat knowledge from him. So after that 2 or 3 years of training, I would then request to retire from the hospital if the Hokage will allow me to join Anbu. And with my training with Kakashi, my developed S rank jutsu, or probably a forbidden jutsu, if we're being honest, um, coupled with my medical knowledge, I think he would accept. And with that being the case, um, I now have an incognito identity. I'm allowed to watch over events that happen in the events of Konoha, and then I get to basically decide where I want to intervene. Um, what's interesting is that this will happen roughly right before the Uchiha clan massacre, and it's a potential that I end up in Itachi's squad. But even if that's the case, I won't be doing anything to prevent it because I think the canon should stay the same for now. I probably won't make any changes until the actual canon show timeline, if I do. Um, the only major thing I will do involving any main characters, aside from the training with Kakashi and talking to Hiruzen, is I think I will specifically be one of the Anbu who finds Sasuke collapsed from the Tsukuyomi, and then I'll stabilize him and make sure that he is able to fulfill all of his Part 1 obligations. And that is the end of Part 1.